If a woman gives you the silent treatment and your first instinct is to chase, explain, or fix it, you've already abandoned your center. Not because silence always means the end, and not because distance always means something is broken, but because in that moment, most men surrender their emotional stability before they even understand what's actually happening. Because silence is rarely just silence. Sometimes it's space. Sometimes it's confusion. Sometimes it's emotional overwhelm. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. But when silence creates pressure inside you, it exposes something deeper. How quickly do you lose yourself when clarity disappears? How fast do you abandon your standards the moment certainty is removed? The moment silence appears, most men panic. They assume something went wrong. They assume they need to act fast. They assume if they don't fix it immediately, they'll lose her. And that assumption alone creates weakness. Because now, you're no longer observing, you're reacting. You're emotionally chasing certainty. And uncertainty has broken more men than rejection ever did. Because rejection is clear, uncertainty is not. And what destroys most men is not always the outcome. It's the mental chaos created by not knowing. Because silence creates pressure. And pressure reveals everything: insecurity, dependence, self-respect under tension. She used to text fast. Now she takes a day. She used to feel warm. Now she feels distant. She used to lean in. Now something feels off. And immediately, the mind searches. Did something change? Did I say too much? Did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? And just like that, peace becomes fragile. Not because silence itself is powerful, but because your interpretation of it creates chaos. You start replaying conversations. You analyze tone. You search for hidden meaning. You read deeper into timing. You create worst-case scenarios in places where facts do not yet exist. And in doing that, you begin emotionally reacting to assumptions instead of reality. So what do most men do? They chase reassurance. They force clarity too soon. They reach for control because they cannot tolerate uncertainty. And in doing that, they abandon self-control for temporary relief. And that is where dignity usually starts collapsing. Because what are you really saying when panic takes over? Your distance is controlling my emotions. Your silence is controlling my peace. I need your response so I can feel stable again. And that is the deeper issue. The man who cannot remain grounded without immediate answers often suffers more from his own reactions than from silence itself. Because silence forces you to face yourself, your patience, your insecurity, your emotional discipline, your fear of abandonment, your need for closure, your relationship with the unknown. Some people use silence manipulatively. Yes, that exists. But even when it's unintentional, your response still reveals something critical. How easily are you emotionally controlled by what you do not know? That question matters, because emotional maturity is not controlling other people. It is controlling yourself. Real strength is not forcing communication. It is not demanding reassurance. It is not over-pursuing clarity. It is not collapsing the moment tension appears. Real strength is self-mastery. The ability to feel pressure without obeying it. The ability to feel uncertainty without abandoning your standards. The ability to sit in discomfort without surrendering dignity. The ability to pause instead of panic. Because when you master yourself, silence stops being a weapon and starts becoming information. It stops being something you fear and starts becoming something you study. Now let's be clear, not all silence is manipulation. Sometimes people genuinely need space. Sometimes life becomes overwhelming. Sometimes emotions are complicated. Sometimes people withdraw because they are processing, not because they are plotting. Healthy distance usually communicates something. I need time. I've got a lot on my mind. Let me process. That is space with respect. That is distance with emotional responsibility. But disappearing, withdrawing, creating confusion, then returning when convenient, without explanation, that pattern deserves observation, not immediate emotional reaction, not desperate pursuit. Observation. Because patterns often reveal more than isolated moments ever will. Patterns reveal intention. Patterns reveal maturity. Patterns reveal whether someone values clarity or benefits from confusion. So what should a grounded man actually do when silence appears? First, do not panic. Panic makes people trade dignity for temporary relief. Panic makes people beg for answers they have not earned yet. Second, do not instantly chase clarity. If someone is creating confusion, over-pursuit often multiplies it. Third, stay anchored. Your routines, your mission, your standards, your peace. Your life cannot collapse every time someone shifts emotionally. Because when your entire emotional state revolves around someone else's behavior, that is not connection. That is dependency. And dependency destroys perception. So when she pulls back, do not spiral. Do not overtext. Do not beg for certainty. Do not immediately surrender your center. Lean back, breathe, observe. Listen to actions, not anxiety. Not to manipulate, not to punish, not to play games, but to protect your self-respect long enough to see reality clearly. Because sometimes silence reveals misunderstanding, sometimes it reveals immaturity, sometimes it reveals emotional exhaustion, sometimes it reveals loss of interest, sometimes it reveals manipulation, but you will never know which one it is if panic controls your perception. This is why calm matters, because calm protects perception. Calm keeps emotion from distorting reality. Calm allows you to read behavior clearly instead of reacting blindly. When you stop reacting impulsively, you start seeing patterns clearly. And clarity is power. Because one of the strongest positions any person can hold is the willingness to observe behavior without forcing outcomes, without begging for certainty, without abandoning self-respect just to escape discomfort. When you stop rewarding inconsistency with panic, one of two things usually happens. The behavior improves, or the truth becomes obvious. Either way, clarity wins. And clarity, even painful clarity, is always more valuable than emotional self-deception. And if she returns, do not explode. Do not become passive-aggressive. Do not punish. Do not unload weeks of emotional chaos just because you suffered internally. Be calm, be direct, be self-respecting. If something's wrong, communicate it. I value clarity. That response communicates standards without desperation, self-respect without aggression, strength without instability. Because mature strength does not beg, react, or emotionally collapse. It stays centered. Most people either overreact or suppress. But emotionally disciplined men, they stay clear, they stay calm, they stay centered. They do not let temporary uncertainty rewrite their identity. Remember this, the person who loses themselves first often loses perspective first, because silence reveals. It reveals communication style, it reveals emotional maturity, it reveals patterns, it reveals intentions, but most importantly, it reveals your relationship with uncertainty. At the end of the day, you do not control whether someone withdraws. You do not control whether someone communicates well. You do not control another person's emotional patterns. But you do control whether their behavior destroys your peace. You control your standards. You control your reactions. You control whether uncertainty becomes wisdom or weakness. Because the man who fears silence often becomes controlled by it. But the man who understands himself within silence he becomes harder to manipulate because he no longer abandons himself just to escape discomfort. He no longer begs uncertainty to end just so he can feel okay. So the next time someone goes quiet, do not immediately ask, "How do I get her back?" Do not ask, "What do I say to fix this?" Ask, "Why does this disturb my peace so deeply? Why does uncertainty make me abandon myself?" Because that answer will teach you more about your emotional foundation than her silence ever will. Because when silence no longer threatens your peace, you stop being controlled by what you cannot control. And the man who can sit calmly in silence, he becomes dangerous to manipulation.